So let me tell you about the Ketos Split, and honestly, I was quite surprised.
Welcome to Matt on Foil.
So this is the Ketos Split, the front wing that is shipped in different parts. So for one, you have the core 60 centimeters, and on that core, you screw wingtips. Bigger ones like the 150 and smaller ones like the 120 here. And that's basically the whole premise. The question is, can we pump it asymmetrical? Now, I'm going to talk about the split in a second. What Ketos also sent me for pumping was their Kobun board. It's their 85 centimeter board. It is super light, you know it. It's got a little concave and it's got this grainy top, no pads, but it sticks to your feet. Not too much, you can still move a bit, but it's not slippery at all. I really like it. Super thin, super light. Can I highly recommend. Like it a lot. Also, they sent me their Ultra 2 UHM mast, also 80 centimeters. As for the stab, it's the 105 pump knife, and they sent me two different tails that are attached to the fuselage. Now your first question might be, well, how does it look? And you can see there's a little gap in between the wingtips and the core. Obviously, the margins are really not that big. It depends which tip you take here. Some gaps are a little bigger. You can see it's not 100% perfect, but the guys from Ketos also said that the one that they sent me were their prototype parts in there, and the ones you buy should be perfect. So we can just hope, right? But it's actually good because these parts are not perfectly fitted, but does it actually matter? We'll come to that later. Question first is, why would you need a split front wing? Now, first of all, I think, and that's the obvious reason, transport, right? If you want to travel with a 1.50 m front wing, it is huge. It's in your way. If you go by train or by bicycle, it's just difficult. Or let alone if you want to fly. If you want to fly and bring your pumping stuff, and you need a bag for 1.50 m foil, you're not sure if it's going to break or not, then something like that is actually really interesting. Also, and that might sound counterintuitive, price. So here I have 3 front wings instead of just 1. So the price of these at the moment, $1,600, is for 3 front wings. One is the 120 area of 13, 20 aspect ratio of 11. Then you have the 135, 1,460 square centimeters of area, 1250 of aspect ratio, and the 1.50 m front wing has 1,650 square centimeters of area and 14 aspect ratio. So you have 3 front wings for $1,600, and that's quite good. So price-wise, these wings, yes, of course, are expensive, but if you take everything into account, then maybe it's not as expensive anymore. But the question obviously always is, well, it's that expensive, but are they any good? Especially if we look at the gap and that there are more screws and whatnot. So let me talk about the quality of these things. If you get this stuff, you really can feel and see this is high quality. This is handmade in France. This is really nice. It's been taken care of. So it feels very good. The gap looks just a bit off, but I'm just gonna talk about it when I talk about the feel. The weight of this setup is, I don't have a scale with me here, but the number is up here. It's super light. So the board, the mast, everything is really super light. Something that's just a little bit off compared to the high quality of the foil and the board and the mast and whatnot are the screws. They just feel a little bit off, and they ship their gear with their Ketos screwdriver, and you can see a little tape here. This is a T30, this is a T25, and I didn't notice that. So one evening, night, I was tired, I tried to unscrew the tips here, and I took the wrong screwdriver and I messed up a little bit of the screw, tried to fix it with that, and it left with a broken screw, and I almost didn't get it out. So the screws are not that good. I asked the guys from Ketos, they said yes, they've heard that, or they got that feedback from others as well. They're gonna change it to titanium screws finally. So there again, on the screw part, nothing to complain if they ship it with titanium screws. Now, what about the feel? The feel, does that make an impact? Like, is that a bad feeling of pumping if you have to split? The answer is no, not at all. I didn't have any problem whatsoever. Like, from the biggest one to the smallest one, I didn't feel the gap at all. I was turning, I was carving. The gap was not noticeable at all. And the setup felt like a Ketos setup feels. It feels light, it feels agile, it feels playful. And that's just what it is. So the split has no impact on pumpability, on fun, on anything related to a bad pump experience. Which is important, because if we look at price, and we talked about the front wing, that whole setup is almost 4,500 to 5,000 euros. So that's a bunch of money that you might spend on a setup like that, but it's really worth it. Like right now, I'm on vacation. I'm on a wing foil sailing trip in Sardinia. Maybe you can see it in the background. It is amazing. And I have so much gear already. And if I want to also bring my pump foil here, my huge front wings, well, that's going to be a pain, right? But with this setup here, we have the 85 centimeter board. This is the biggest part of the whole setup. So if I can pack that into my bag and add the mast, add the core, add the few wingtips, the fuse, the tail, then it is really well packable. So the Ketos Split, I can highly recommend, not only due to its pumping, but also, like, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And I really appreciate brands like that taking a risk on inventing something like that, bringing it to market. And I'm super glad that it really works. Like, nothing bad to say about it. It is fun. It is high aspect, so it's effortless. It's what a pump foil should be. And I also thought about like sharing a setup like that with my son who wants to get into pump foiling. The wings might be a little high aspect, but he doesn't need a big front wing like me because he's a lot lighter. So he could use a smaller front wing. I could use a little bigger front wing, and we can share a setup. Or you can even think, like, picture you and a friend buying a setup like this. Your friend, he's a little bigger, he's a little fatter, right? So he's gonna use the bigger front wing, you're gonna use the smaller front wing because you're fast. That's a good reason to get the split. Or also, let's say you want to continue with, let's say, long distance pumping. So you put your 150 tip on there, and then your watch tells you there's a boat coming. So you go on shore, you take off these 4 screws real quick, put on the 120 tips, and go wake thieving. It's that simple. I'm winging the 120, which is a pump foil wing, but it's pretty pitchy. But like for winging, it turns all right, I'd say. Takes some getting used to, but it's all right. Oh yeah, big gust coming in. Nothing to tell you more. Like, this is really awesome. This is epic. You should get it. Or you know what? You should test it. And I can still keep it a little longer. So if you're into that, if you want to see for yourself or feel for yourself if that's any good, then hit me up on Instagram and we'll see that you can get on a session with the Ketos Split. All right, that's been the video. See you in the next one.